I'm getting 795 feet per second. This is from a 4-inch single action Army clone. A while back I wanted to try my hand at making some Duplex 45 Colt loads. Not Duplex as in black powder and smokeless powder mixed, but Duplex as in 2 projectile. I looked into it and did a lot of searching around, and I couldn't really find any decent information on doing it. Just scraps here and there, and nobody really showing their work too much. So it took a little while, but I kind of figured out a process that works decent for me, decent enough. We're getting about, I don't know, 4 inches of spread at 7-8 yards, right around in there. It shoots very point of aim. Actually turned out a lot better than I figured it would. Here's the process, here's how I do it. Not claiming this is the best way. This is the way that I kind of found works decent for me. I'm not responsible for you blowing yourself up, so that's a bummer, dude. I'm using Starline brass. I don't know, I think a little bit of it's the best brass on the planet thing is maybe a little bit overblown. The reason I use it is because by the time you shove 2 round balls into this case, you're ending up with very little case capacity. I don't want fluctuations in the case capacity that I have. So here's how I do it. Starline case. Go ahead and these are all, I have almost exclusively Lee stuff just because it seems to be more than adequate for the money. I'm sure you can do this on a Dillon 550 with RCBS dies and a Hornady shell holder, I don't know. You're just full length sizing, and I'm using standard primers. The expansion is the same. Then I'm going ahead and I'm dropping my 5.5 grains of tight group in there. You want to use 4.51 diameter round balls, at least for your first ball that you're putting in there. That seems to be about the perfect amount of fitment. Haven't had any trouble with them coming loose in there. Haven't had any just drop in and you're not hammering the shit out of it trying to seat it. That works for me. Set it on top of your powder charge. I have a punch marked with about the correct depth that it needs to go. What you're trying to do here is you're basically going to end up with the ball at this height, but it's not that one, it's this one. I haven't found a very good way of seating these without just using a punch. If you don't like doing that, then don't do it. Whichever way you want to not do that, by not doing this at all or by figuring out a better way, that's on you. This is how I do it. I haven't had any issues. So how I do it, this is a plastic punch. I seat it until that line is at the top of the case mouth. What that does is when this top ball, you drive it all the way down against the bottom ball and it's still a little high, and then you tap it till it's the correct height. My overall length is 1.445 inches. Seat it. It doesn't seat very hard. And that's what you'll be looking at right there. Hi, this is Pistolero's unpaid video editor, Pistolero. I found it necessary while editing this video to point out that the last thing on the planet you want to do is seat that first ball all the way to the bottom of the case. Do not do that. You will spike your chamber pressure by a very unknown amount, and nothing gets the ATF more cranky than when you fail to register a destructive device. That's exactly what you're going to turn your handgun into if you do that. A hand grenade. You will hurt yourself and others. Do not do that. I use black powder lube because I have some, and it smears good. This stuff is available on Amazon, and it actually works pretty good. If you've done the whole cap and ball revolver thing. Everybody's gotten lube that sucks, like that Traditions 1000 shit or whatever, that just, if it's over 75 degrees outside, it's water. And like, I'm in Phoenix, and this stuff doesn't just sit there and melt all over the place. It makes a little bit of a mess because it is black powder lube, but it's actually pretty great stuff. I'm sure the true lamb's tallow and beeswax stuff is probably better, but as far as what you can buy off the shelf, works great. So you take some, and I put it in there about like this. You're just kind of imagining the void that's going to be in between those two balls there. I never put in an amount that I cannot at least see the middle of that first ball. And from what I have found, if you overdo it, I'm sure there's a line, but if you overdo it, seeding that second ball, you'll have all that lube coming out the top. Doesn't really seem to be that big of a problem if you slightly overdo it. I'm sure if you just cap that, like if you make that look like a cap and ball chamber, by the time you're done adding lube to it, you probably will shove that first ball down in there further, and that's probably really bad. Second ball, like I said, the first ball I use a 451 diameter. Second one I use 454s. I haven't really tried using a 451 for the top ball, but the only thing I use those 451 balls for is the first one on this cartridge. That's it. I don't shoot them out of anything else. So, and I have hundreds of 454 diameter balls. I might as well use half as many of the one I have to buy especially for this. So you just put it right on top, and I just seed it by eye. You want the top of your case mouth to be just past the equator of that lead ball, because we're going to do a roll crimp on the top of the shell casing. And I seed it with the plastic side of this hammer. There you have it. Yep, that's done. 1442. So I don't sit there and measure every one. You kind of get the eye for it, but you'll see, and yeah, it's kind of coming up on camera. You'll see a little shadow around the case mouth there when it's at the right height. It's just past the equator, and it gives you an area to roll crimp. So we're not even using the seeding die at all. Die 3 is a waste on this one. Go to die 4. The lead dies, how those are set is you have the case all the way up, and then you screw in the adjustment on it until it just touches the case mouth, and you go anywhere from half a turn more to a full turn more. 3/4 is seeming to work. These aren't nuclear level loads by any means, so I haven't really had any issues with the balls moving. And I always turn them 180 and do it again. Here's kind of what it looks like, finished product. When I first did these, I used black powder just because I wanted a little bit more of a safer option for my first one. 22 grains of 3F GoX measured by volume was what I tried first. That seemed to be, just by eye, a decent guess of what would be slightly compressed with that first ball. And after shooting those, I got a velocity of 555 feet per second. I don't remember what my extreme spread on that was, but it was like 9 or something. It was a very consistent load. So at that point, I kind of knew I had to switch over to smokeless because it just wasn't going to happen with using black powder. So I kind of just dropped that. That was the only load that I tried. Started at 4.5. I got an average of 647 feet per second. 5 grains gave me 696 feet per second. 17 feet per second extreme spread. 5.5 grains, 795 feet per second, 28 feet per second extreme spread. All this was shot from a 4-inch single action Army clone over a Garmin chronograph. The temperature outside was probably easily 100 degrees, maybe 105. So maybe as it cools down, those velocities will come down. I'm not sure. If you're shooting this out of a 7.5-inch barreled gun, I'm sure there's going to be a noticeable, like, market increase in velocity. Your mileage may vary. Who knows? All right, more to come.